Nintendo have officially announced the Nintendo Switch 2, and along with it, they announced the first game, that being Mario Kart 9. From what we can already tell from the snippet of gameplay shown, each race will consist of 24 racers, doubling from the usual 12 racers that we've come accustomed to since Double Dash. Tracks appear to be larger, Donkey Kong's redesigned to resemble the original design from the arcade game, and the Super Mario Bros. Wonder art style. There is a lot to talk about, so I decided to release a series of videos giving my predictions on what we can see. This video here will be on characters, the second video will be on the tracks, third video will be on the items, fourth video will be on battle mode, and the final video will be on potential game modes. I might make additional videos if more information comes out, but we'll wait and see. Let's begin. Seeing how there will be 24 racers on the track, this leads me to believe these 24 characters will be our starting roster when we load the game. In case you don't know, the 24 confirmed characters are Mario, Luigi, Peach, Bowser, Yoshi, Toad, Daisy, Rosalina, Donkey Kong, Wario, Koopa Troopa, Pauline, Waluigi, Toadette, Baby Mario, Luigi, Peach, Daisy and Rosalina, Bowser Jr., Lakitu, King Boo, Shy Guy and Birdo. With the large amount of players on the track, I can potentially see up to 50 racers in the base game, with maybe an additional 10 or 15 for DLC. So that leads me to consider, who's getting cut? These 24 characters are certainly not getting cut, which leaves us with the rest of the Mario Kart 8 roster. To be honest, I don't see them cutting a lot of the Mario characters from this game given how big the races are going to be, so it's probably best to get as much characters as possible. But for characters I think they will cut, I don't see the Splatoon or Animal Crossing characters coming back, as I feel those characters were only brought in because of the new games coming out, and I rarely ever encounter people playing as these characters online. I do however feel they will keep Link in the game, seeing as he is an iconic character and I do encounter him quite frequent. Other characters I can see getting cut are the clone characters, those being Mel Mario, Tanuki Mario, Pinkville Peach, Cat Peach, Peachette and Dry Bowser, as these are just the same character. But unlike the guest characters, I do believe these characters might remain in the game, but as alternate costumes for those characters. This is something I have seen people speculate, and seeing as the last update to Mario Kart 8 did make the Inkling / Villager boy and girl single characters with costumes, I do believe it may happen. Those are all the characters I think will get cut, so that leads me to consider, who's coming back? Donkey Kong Jr. I didn't think we'd ever see Donkey Kong Jr. again, but Mario Kart Tour proves otherwise. As to whether he would appear again in Mario Kart 9, my answer is that it's possible. From the gameplay we've seen so far, Donkey Kong appears to be using his original arcade design, which the movie decided to go with, so why not include Donkey Kong Jr. in the game as well? Donkey Kong Jr. already has a 3D model in Mario Tennis on the N64, which can be updated to the current engine. As for the SNES version, just include it as a costume for Donkey Kong Jr. Paratroopa. The Paratroopa was first introduced to Mario Kart Double Dash to give the Koopa Troopa a partner. He was originally set to return in Mario Kart Wii, but was cut for whatever reason. Do I think he will appear in Mario Kart 9? As a character, I don't think he'll be included, as he served his purpose for Mario Kart Double Dash. Later games have not returned to the Double Dash gimmicks, so there isn't really any point in bringing him back. However, since Mario Kart 8 introduced costumes for Shy Guy and Yoshi, perhaps Paratroopa could just be a costume for the Koopa Troopa. Now, before you say anything regarding animations, listen to what I have to say. If you play as each Mii costume, you will notice that each costume will have its own unique animations, so basically the Paratroopa can have its own animations separate from the Koopa Troopa. Rob. Rob was the first ever guest character in the mainline Mario Kart games. When he was added to Mario Kart DS, I had no idea who this guy was. It wouldn't be until high school I learned that this guy was an NES peripheral and a very important part of Nintendo's history. Since Mario Kart DS, he has appeared in a few WarioWare games as well as the Super Smash Bros. Games. Do I think he'll return in Mario Kart 9? I'm going to be completely honest here, I do not think he will return. Why? Let me explain. Rob was cool at first sight. A robot peripheral that played games along with you. That is, until you play the games he was made for and realize how slow and clunky he is, meaning you'd probably have a better time playing without him. Let's look at the rest of the guest characters. They all have something that Rob doesn't. Memorable games. People would much rather play as characters from iconic games than a peripheral for games that most couldn't name without googling them. And ask yourself this, Have you or anyone you know ever played as Rob in Mario Kart DS? Or in the Smash games? Out of all the characters that have been cut over the years, I do not think I've seen anyone clamour for the return of Rob. A lot of young people's knowledge of Rob most likely comes from the AVGN episode, while much older fans certainly won't have Rob in the same category as Mario and Donkey Kong. If by any means you are someone who actually wants him in the game, all I'm gonna say is, I wouldn't hold my breath. Honey Queen. I guess to add some newer characters to Mario Kart 7, Nintendo decided to add the Honey Queen from Super Mario Galaxy. At the time, this was a strange choice, seeing as there were much more memorable characters they could have chose from, and that she was too big, which shouldn't really be an issue, but I digress. Personally, I wouldn't have any issue with Honey Queen coming back, even if she's not someone I'd play as, but what has she done since Mario Kart 7? Nothing. In fact, there was a 7-year gap between her appearance in Mario Kart 7 and her appearance as a spirit in Smash Ultimate. After that, she only made an appearance in Dr. Mario World and has not been seen since 2019. The fact that Honey Queen has not been seen in over 5 years tells me that she may not be returning. Now those are the characters that have been cut throughout the years from the mainline Mario Kart games, but Mario Kart Tour did introduce a few new characters to the Mario Kart franchise, and even some made it into the booster course pass. However, not all characters were added, so which characters could we see? Monty Mole has been playable in some of the more recent Mario Party games. I'm shocked he has not been playable in any of the Mario Kart games. Hammer Brother was meant to be in Mario Kart Wii, but was cut for whatever reason. The Fire, Ice and Boomerang Bros could also just be alternate costumes. Captain Toad. He has his own games, so it's bound to happen soon. As Captain Toad is his own character, I don't think he'll be a costume. Poochie. Besides the baby characters, there isn't really any original characters from the Yoshi's Island games, so yes, put Poochie in the game. Why not? King Bob-omb was made playable in the latest Mario Golf, so why not put him in Mario Kart 9? Game needs more villains. Nabbit. Playable in a lot of the 2D Mario games and spin-offs. I'd be surprised if Nabbit wasn't in Mario Kart 9. Dixie Kong. This is someone I see suggested a lot, even as far back as Mario Kart Wii. Maybe Nintendo will add her to the game this time. Charge and Chuck. Same as King Bob-omb, why not put the Charge and Chuck in Mario Kart 9? Game could do with more iconic enemies. So those are the characters introduced in Tour that weren't added to the Booster Course Pass, and I feel all of them will be added into Mario Kart 9 either as DLC or an unlockable character. But how about some new characters to add to Mario Kart 9? If you've ever watched a Nintendo YouTuber in your life, you know the story that Donkey Kong in the arcade game and Donkey Kong in the more recent games are two different characters. So how about we include the original Donkey Kong, now known as Cranky Kong? The series certainly hasn't shied away from using Donkey Kong Country characters, seeing as Diddy, Funky and Dixie Kong have made appearances in past games, so I can definitely see Cranky Kong as a potential racer. He was playable in the extremely disappointing Donkey Kong Barrel Blast and was originally going to be playable in the cancelled Diddy Kong Pilot and Donkey Kong Racing, so why not put this old Kong in Mario Kart 9? Mario's most iconic enemy is the Goomba, and it's honestly surprising that a Goomba has not been made a playable character in a Mario Kart game, seeing as they have been playable in some of the Mario Sports games. The Goomba has been playable in the recent Mario Party games, which makes his inclusion in Mario Kart 9 very likely. Some people may argue that the Goomba doesn't have hands, so he can't steer, which doesn't matter seeing as the Wiggler was given gloves, and not only that, in some of the Mario Sports games, he seems to be able to handle sporting equipment with ease. Others might say the Goombas are too generic, but this series has had the Koopa Troopa, Shy Guy, Dry Bones, and the Paratroopa as playable characters, and Mario Kart Tour had Monty Mole and Hammer Bro, both of which I feel will be back. So if those guys are eligible for Mario Kart, why can't the first enemy you encounter in the very first Super Mario Bros. Game? Speaking of normal enemies.
Ready? Yeah! Woo! Congratulations!
This might be a strange one, but hear me out. The Boo, Bob-omb, Piranha Plant, and Blooper. Yes, these guys are items in the game, and yes, we already have King Boo, King Bob-omb, and B Piranha, so these guys' inclusion is not needed. But what if I wanted to play as them? Which is exactly what you can do in various Mario spin-offs, so why can't I play as the items? It wouldn't be out of the ordinary for a kart racer to do such a thing, as Crash Team Racing Nitro Fueled in their final update made an item create a secret unlockable character. Now, I'm not saying they should make every item or object playable in Mario Kart 9, I'm not asking to play as an item box or a blue shell, but why not allow me to play as these Mario enemies? Hell, the blooper doesn't have a bigger variant that is playable in any of the Mario Kart games or spin-offs, but I can play as the blooper in Mario Party 9. You can even play as Piranha Plant in Super Smash Bros. If that's not a justifiable reason to put them in the game, I don't know what is. Now, they don't necessarily need to just be their basic appearances. Perhaps you can have the Boo wear the party attire like in Mario Party, make the Bob-omb red like in Super Mario 64, have the Piranha Plant wear its Doctor's attire like in Dr. Mario World, and for the blooper you can just make them one of its other variants. I want to pick up the item as the item, so let's get this done. Spikes have been making appearances in Mario games recently, first introduced in Super Mario Bros. 3, then mostly appearing in Yoshi games. It now appears to be a requirement to include them in every 2D Mario game since the new Super Mario Bros. Series. Spikes have been playable in 2 Mario Party games and 2 Mario Sports games, which raises the chances of his inclusion as an official member of the Mario Kart 9 roster. The roster for Mario Kart 9 will certainly be massive, so why not get as many basic Mario enemies as we can, especially one that has been around as far back as 1988. One thing I think the Mario Kart roster lacks is big time villains. So how about we add the main antagonist of Donkey Kong Country, King K. Rool. King K. Rool would not only add another big time villain to the Mario Kart roster, but if we look back at my idea for costumes earlier, you could have all of King K. Rool's costumes from the games, such as Captain K. Rool from Diddy's Kong Quest, Baron K. Roolenstein from Dixie Kong's Double Trouble, and even King Crusher K. Rool from Donkey Kong 64. Much like Cranky Kong, he was originally going to be a playable character in the cancelled Donkey Kong Racing and Diddy Kong Pilot, and his only appearance in a racing game was the largely disappointing Donkey Kong Barrel Blast, so he deserves to be in a good racing game. He did appear in Mario Super Sluggers on the Wii in 2008, so he has appeared in Mario spin-offs in the past, and his recent inclusion as a playable character in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate is another reason why I think King K. Rool should be a playable character in Mario Kart 9. We've already seen Funky Kong and Dixie Kong appear in the games, and I've already mentioned Cranky Kong and King K. Rool, so how about we add one more character from Donkey Kong Country, that being a Kong that is unfortunately no longer with us, Wrinkly Kong. Wrinkly Kong first appeared in the second Donkey Kong Country game, but between the events of DKC3 and DK64, she died and came back as a ghost, which is how she has appeared in every future game she has appeared in. Wrinkly Kong is the wife of Cranky Kong, which makes her the mother of Donkey Kong Jr. and grandmother of the current Donkey Kong. So if we're going to have all these Kongs in the game, why not include the first, second and third generations of Kongs for one big family reunion in Mario Kart 9. She hasn't made a proper appearance since DK Jungle Climber for the DS in 2007. She did appear in the largely disappointing Donkey Kong Barrel Blast as a racer, but something I find interesting about her appearance is that her Bongo jetpack is also a ghost. So in Mario Kart 9, let's include this ghost granny and have her kart also be a ghost. That would be a cool visual. Seeing as Mario Kart Tour include King Bob-omb from Super Mario 64, how about we include another memorable boss from that game? Hailing all the way from Whomp's Fortress at the top of the level is none other than the Whomp King. Now, I know what some people are thinking, but he's too big. No, much like in Super Smash Bros, in Mario Kart, size doesn't matter. If Bowser, King Boo, Petey Piranha and King Bob-omb can be in Mario Kart, there really isn't anything stopping the Whomp King from entering the race. He's only appeared in 2 mainline Mario games, those being Super Mario 64 and Super Mario Galaxy 2 in the Throwback Galaxy, which means he is iconic enough to return to future Mario games. He has only ever made 4 appearances in games, so his chances of appearing in Mario Kart 9 are slim, but I would still like to see him. For which version I would like to see, I would go with the Super Mario 64 version with the giant plasters and cracks on his back over the version in Galaxy 2. Now for a character with a very slim chance of appearing in any Mario game ever again. Back in the very early days of the internet, you would see countless hoaxes of unlockable characters in video games, such as Luigi in Super Mario 64, which involved so many ways to unlock him. Mario Kart 64 had its own fair share of hoaxes, like being able to enter Peach's castle, and Kamek being an unlockable character. Seeing as Kamek eventually became playable in Mario Kart Tour and Mario Kart 8, how about the other character make his appearance? Mari the Green Thwomp. For those that may not know, in Mario Kart 64 in Bowser's Castle, there exists a green thwomp in a cage that people called Marty the Green Thwomp, and was rumoured to be an unlockable character. Various videos and screenshots surfaced that showed that Marty was playable, with even methods on how to unlock him. This evidence was the result of Photoshop, mods, or April Fool's jokes. The green thwomp was most likely a texture glitch, as in Mario Kart Wii the imprisoned thwomp appears like a normal thwomp. Now, I know Nintendo don't really add meme characters, but seeing as they did add Donkey Kong as a secret boss in Punch-Out in the past, and Marty does technically exist in the Mario universe, I say they should absolutely add him to the game. They don't have to call him Marty the Green Thwomp, as I feel they would like to own the trademark for the name.
Oh my...
I already mentioned a few Donkey Kong Country characters, so why not add a character from Luigi's Mansion? And you all know who I'm talking about. Professor Egad is one of the original characters created and featured in Luigi's Mansion. He's made a few cameo appearances in non-Luigi games and appeared in 3 Mario and Luigi RPGs, but one thing I was shocked to learn was that he's never been a playable character in any Mario spin-off. No Mario Party, no Mario sports games, and especially no Mario Kart games. Professor Egad was originally going to be playable in Mario Kart DS, but for whatever reason he was cut from the game in favour of Dry Bones. Seeing as all 3 Luigi Mansion games have sold really well, why not include Professor Egad in Mario Kart 9 and make him playable for the first time ever? We have seen characters from Donkey Kong Country, Luigi's Mansion, and the Yoshi games appear in Mario Kart, so how about we look at the games of another character in the Mario universe and see which characters would be great for Mario Kart 9. The WarioWare games are a series of party games with its collection of memorable characters. In fact, I often see Ashley's name pop up in Smash prediction videos, which shows you how popular these games are. Now, for which character I would like to see in Mario Kart 9, my answer is any. Yes, that's right, I would honestly like to see any character from these games, as I feel there's a good reason to include them all. I feel if Nintendo were to choose, they would probably choose Ashley since she is the most popular character outside of Wario, but I feel Mona would fit in the game as she has her scooter, which can also be in the game, as well as Spitz and Dribble the taxi drivers. Mario Kart 9 could also feature Wario's biker outfit as a costume, seeing as he has worn it in Super Smash Bros, so I don't see why he can't wear it in Mario Kart 9. Regardless if they choose only 1 or 2 characters, I would be happy. And that's that. Are there any characters you would like to see in Mario Kart 9? Let me know in the comments. The next video should be on tracks, which hopefully I get out soon. And I hope you enjoyed this video. I'll see you next time. Goodbye.